Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Espionage with Orson Welles, The Lives of Harry Lime, The Third Man, the prequel to the motion picture of the same name. This episode goes back to August 3rd, 1951, as it seems Welles has found too many crooks.
Presenting Orson Welles as the Third Man. The Lives of Harry Lime. The fabulous stories of the immortal character, originally created in the motion picture The Third Man, with zither music by Anton Karas.
That was the shot that killed Harry Lime. He died in a sewer beneath Vienna, as those of you know who saw the movie The Third Man. Yes, that was the end of Harry Lime. But it was not the beginning. Harry Lime had many lives, and I can recount all of them. How do I know? It's very simple. Because my name is Harry Lime. Don't get me wrong, I love Budapest. From Budapest come goulashes and shardashes. Shardashes being something you dance and goulash being something you eat if you go for all that paprika. Me, I love it. So, when I got that telegram, I took the first train to Hungary. Maybe I'd better tell you about the telegram first. Dear Mr. Lime, it said, my bank is going to be robbed and I need your help. It was signed Fekete, evidently a man's name, nobody I knew. I knew all about bank robberies, however, and I was dying to help. Besides, as I say, I love paprika. So I started packing right away.
And now Orson Welles as Harry Lime, the third man, in today's story, Too Many Crooks.
Before calling in at the bank, I stopped at a cute little flower shop I happened to notice across the way. Good morning. Would you give me something for my buttonhole? Why, Lily. Lily, what are you doing here?
We have some very pretty pink gardenias.
Oh, come on, Lily, don't tell me you don't remember me. And how are all the Corellis?
The who?
Now, don't give me that, Lily.
My name is Lulu.
Well, it used to be Lily, and you used to be a blonde. And the Corellis, as you know perfectly well, because you used to work for them, are the best bank robbers in Central Europe. Well, what about it, honey?
Here are your gardenias, Harry. Now get out of here.
Okay, honey, okay. No need to get in a hassle.
I'm telling you, Harry, get out.
I never was one to argue, so I took my gardenia across the street and wore it into the bank.
Mr. Fekete will see Mr. Harry Lime.
You can go in now, Mr. Lime.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Fekete will see you.
Yes, that's what I gathered.
This way, please. And
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Lime, will you please extinguish your cigarette? Mr. Fekete does not approve of smoking.
Thanks, I'll bear that in mind.
Mr. Lime.
Come in and shut the door. There's a drape.
Do you mind if I sit down, Mr. Fekete, or is there a rule against that?
Sit down. You're a very impertinent young man, but I don't mind that. I'm an impertinent older man. We ought to get along together very nicely.
What's your proposition, Mr. Fekete?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Just what I said. What's your proposition?
Listen to me, Lime. I don't make propositions. I consider them.
Have it your own way, Fekete. I'm a big boy now, and I'm not so easily impressed.
What do you mean, impressed?
All this big desk, double secretary, Mr. Fekete will see you now. Mr. Fekete doesn't approve of smoking, busy executive hoopla. May go down very well with the bumpkins who give you their money to invest. It doesn't mean a thing to me. You sent for me, didn't you? I crossed 3 national borders to get here and lost a lot of time, so don't ask me what's my proposition. What's yours, Mr. Fekete?
Very good indeed. You're just the man I hoped you were. Have a cigar.
Wouldn't that be breaking the rules?
I make the rules, Mr. Lime, and I don't like cheap tobacco smoke. Nor do I enjoy being forced to distribute these very costly custom-made Havanas to every, what is it you call them, bumpkin, who comes into my office. I think you'll enjoy these.
Thanks.
Light?
Thanks.
Good. Now that we're a little more at ease, suppose you tell me something about yourself.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
I wish you'd stop asking me what I mean by everything I say, Feckerty. I said why, and I meant why. You put private detectives on my trail. You found me. You made me a very substantial down payment on services to be rendered. And now, when I get here, you want me to tell you about myself. That's just plain silly, old man. It's obvious that if you went to all that trouble and expense to get me here, you knew about me already. I'm the one to ask the questions, not you.
Better and better. Mr. Lime, if you were just a little less notorious as a crook, I'd offer you a vice presidency in my bank.
I forgive the insult, Mr. Feckerty.
What do you mean, insult?
There you go asking me what I mean again. I meant insult.
Now, don't you get pompous on me, Lime. You are a crook, a well-famous one. You don't want to deny that?
What I don't want is very simple, Mr. Feckerty. I don't want to be a vice president of your bank.
Huh? Oh, I follow you now. Don't worry, Lime. Right. I promised you $20,000.
That's right.
Or its equivalent in Hungarian pesos.
Oh, wait a minute.
And you'll get it without having to serve as an officer of this bank.
You promised me $20,000, old man. There weren't any gimmicks in the agreement about the joke money you folks pass off on each other locally. I know. I carry my own microscope for reading the fine type.
Very well, very well. $20,000 it is. Don't you want to know what I expect you to do for it?
Mr. Feckerty, you keep making me repeat myself. I told you before that I'm a big boy now. If you're giving me $20,000, I can relax, not worry about asking you silly questions. You're going to get around eventually to telling me what you expect me to do for it.
Did you ever hear of a bank giving a reward?
Yes, but only after a bank robbery.
Exactly. Exactly. Only after a bank has been robbed. I'm reversing the procedure, Line. I'm giving the reward first.
Oh, so that's the little caper, is it? You want me to rob your bank for you?
Oh, not at all, not at all. A reward is usually given for apprehending the thieves who have robbed the bank. What I want you to do, Harry, I may call you Harry? Maybe?
Certainly, old man. Call me Harry if it gives you any fun.
Well, Harry, what I want you to do is to apprehend the robbers before the robbery is committed. Very clever, don't you think so? Have another cigar.
In my business, I may get in the way of an awful lot of screwy deals, but I can tell you that never in a long career have I been offered in complete seriousness a loopier proposition than Mr. Feckerty's. It seems the key to the whole affair was Mr. Feckerty's junior officer in the bank, a certain Mr. Fodor.
Ladislaus Fodor is the full name, Harry. He's one of our vice presidents.
I see.
I tell you this right now, the man is an unprincipled criminal.
Oh?
Come here, and I'll show him to you. Come this way. You can see him through the glass panel.
Oh, yes.
There he is.
Oh, that one?
Second desk to the right. With all those silly hairs pasted over his bald head. That's the man.
He doesn't look very dangerous to me.
Fodor? Dangerous? He has the brain of a backward bird and the charm of a worm. Now that I look back on it, I can't imagine how I ever persuaded myself to be jealous of him.
Jealous? I don't follow you, old man.
If I have a fault, Harry, it is this. I do tend to be jealous. Lulu often chides me about it, and I have promised to curb the instinct, but it is a part of my character.
Lulu, you mean the girl in the flower shop across the way, that Lulu?
She is the only Lulu I know, Mr. Lyon. How does it happen that you are acquainted with her?
You see this carnation?
I see it, yes.
Lulu sold it to me, overcharged me scandalously, as a matter of fact.
Well, Lulu is a working girl. She must live. How does it happen you know her?
What makes you think I do?
You know her name?
Oh, one of the other customers called her that while I was still in the shop. As it happens, it was this little fellow you just pointed out to me over there, the vice president, Fodor.
Third vice president.
I hate to keep harping on these commercial matters, Feckerty, old man, but just how does my $20,000 reward come into the picture?
Let us retire to my inner office, Harry, and I will tell you.
Okay,
Come.
old man.
Sit down, please, Harry. Have another cigar.
My pockets are bulging with cigars now, old man. Let's concentrate on the $20,000.
Certainly. Oh, Miss Garber.
Yes, Mr. Feckerty?
No matter who calls, don't disturb me, not on any account. I'm having an important conference.
Yes, Mr. Feckerty.
Oh, jealousy, Harry. Jealousy is a terrible thing.
Yes, certainly is. Now, about this reward.
Jealousy is the green-eyed monster who doth mock the meat it feeds on. That's how the poet Shakespeare expresses it.
The poet Shakespeare said a mouthful, and now...
But still, if it had not been for jealousy, I would never have followed this Fodor into Lulu's shop. And if I hadn't done that, I would never have discovered the digging.
Digging? What digging?
What would you say, Harry, if I were to tell you that running under the street from Lulu's flower shop to this bank, there is a tunnel?
A tunnel?
What would you say if I told you that?
Well, I'd say, well, what do you know? That's what I'd say.
That's what I said when I found out about it. And that's why I say now that I mustn't ever forget to be grateful to jealousy, particularly since I've discovered that there's nothing between Lolo and Fodor. Nothing serious.
And do you know what I'd say to that?
No.
A couple of rude words.
Yeah, but why?
Why? You find them scrabbling away together like a couple of chubby moles, digging away in the general direction of your bank vault, and you say there's nothing serious between them?
There isn't, I'm sure of that. I have Lulu's file. And besides, what could she possibly see in a fat little nonentity like Fodor? No, the only one who thinks it's serious is Fodor. That's the whole point. Fodor is a dupe, a mere cat's paw in the conspiracy.
Oh, yes? And who's the mastermind?
I am.
Uh-huh. And what does Fodor think about that?
He languishes in ignorance. He knows nothing. And to think that he aspires, he dares to aspire to my position in the bank.
And how does Lulu fit in?
I must tell you that Lulu has given me some reason to hope that she will someday make me the happiest man in the world.
And how will she do that? By giving up Fodor or sending you a big bouquet of roses? Let's get down to cases, old man. Wedding bells can ring out from Buda to Pest and back again, but I won't be there to throw any rice unless I get paid. What is it exactly you want from me? Lessons on how to help Fodor and Lulu rob your bank?
Fodor's going to do the robbing, and besides, it isn't my bank. I'm only a salaried
officer. And then Fodor gives you the money to give to Lulu, is that it?
No, certainly not. That would be silly.
That's just what I was thinking.
No, every day Fodor is supposed to take the paper money from the various cages and place it in the vault.
Yeah?
This is his responsibility.
Yeah?
Tonight, however, he will not do this. He will leave the money outside the vault, hidden in a large filing cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the entire plan has been carefully worked out, I can assure you.
All I can say is this Fodor of yours is a very cooperative type of cat's paw.
Don't call him this Fodor of yours. He isn't. He's no Fodor of mine.
Have it your own way, old man. What comes next? You, I suppose, huh? You come a half hour later with a dark lantern and a gunny sack. You wrap up the money, join Lulu, who's been waiting for you across the street in the flower shop, and the two of you, hand in hand, move off down the road into the sunrise and also into the very choicest Hungarian hooskow.
What is a hooskow?
A jail or prison, a place of forcible incarceration, a lockup for bad little bank robbers.
Not at all, not at all. It is Fodor who goes to prison.
Oh, yes? And how do you work that?
That is one of the things I want you to arrange.
Oh, I see. I'm going to have to earn that $20,000. I think we'll start by having it deposited in my name and in somebody else's bank, old man.
Why now? And why another bank?
Well, every bank in Budapest isn't going to be robbed tonight, so I think I'd prefer one of the others. And I'll take it now because I know you wouldn't want me to go to the police with what is, after all, a fairly sordid little story.
Go to the police, but that's blackmail.
Oh, watch your language, old man. Blackmail's a nasty word. You know, all I want is protection for my poor little $20,000. I'll give you service for it, too, but I want to be absolutely positive that you're ready to meet your payroll.
Very well. You'll have your money, but you will help me.
I'm going to need a few more solid facts, old man.
Well, it all began with this insane jealousy of mine for Fodor.
Oh, yeah?
I took to following him. He used to go into Lulu's flower shop at night long after it was closed. And one time he left the shutter unfastened and I went in. There were no lights in the shop itself, but I could hear voices from the basement below. I opened the trapdoor very carefully so as not to be heard. And what do you think I saw?
You saw Lulu, Fodor, and three men all hard at work digging a tunnel.
Yeah. How did you know?
I didn't, I guess. After all, you told me there was a tunnel.
But the three men, how did you know about them?
Still guessing. It's pretty obvious that Mr. Fodor and Lulu couldn't dig much of a hole without getting some help. Tell me this, it was Lulu who persuaded you to call me in on this deal, wasn't it?
How did you know that?
Still just guessing, old man, just guessing. Now, let me guess on for a minute and stop me when I'm wrong. When you saw what Lulu and Fodor were doing, you went home and brooded for a while, and then a few days afterwards, you confronted her.
It was the next day.
Oh, okay, it was the next day. And Lulu admitted she was planning to rob the bank, but said she was just using Fodor, and you were the only one she really cared about. And if you joined the party, it's you she'd run off with, leaving Mr. Fodor holding the bag. An empty bag. How am I doing?
Oh, you're a clever man.
Sure I am. That's why Lulu had you send for me.
You see, the idea is that Fodor will hide the money outside the vault and leave. Then, according to the arrangement, as he understands it, Lulu will come through the tunnel at night with her helpers and take the money back under the street through the tunnel.
Who did she tell Fodor these helpers were?
She said one of them is her brother and the other two are cousins.
And what did she tell you?
That's what she told me. Why?
Well, nothing, old man. Nothing at all. Just give me one more guess,
Oh, go ahead.
After Fodor leaves the money, what you do is crawl back through the tunnel with a sack of currency clenched in your teeth. But no, that wouldn't make any sense, would it? You'd run into a couple of brothers crawling in the opposite direction.
I'm not to have anything to do with the tunnel.
Oh.
You see, Fodor leaves the money out just before closing time. That way, he's implicated, and we have a scapegoat. So there's nothing to stop me from letting myself in with my key at night and walking away with the money. Who could suspect me? It's a perfect crime, Harry. Wouldn't you say so?
Yes, it's quite a crime if you look at it in one way. But tell me about the brothers. What are they supposed to think about all this?
Oh, they don't know about it. Lulu hasn't told them.
But the news will reach them eventually, and what then?
They must be implicated somehow, along with Fodor. But I must be protected, and Lulu. That's what you're here for, Harry. Have another cigar.
Orson Welles returns in just a moment as the third man.
The Lives of Harry Lime, the prequel to the Third Man movie, August 3rd, 1951, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. British radio producer got the rights to the character Harry Lime, the Third Man, and he bought those rights. He put together a syndicated radio series, Orson Welles reprising the role of Harry Lime in a series of events, a prequel, if you will, as they want to refer to it today. And this was not produced by the BBC. Some episodes did air on there, but it was produced and distributed independently by Towers of London, Harry Allen Towers, and syndicated internationally. Now more of The Third Man, The Adventures of Harry Lime, or The Lives of Harry Lime, as it was known in the U.S., as it was broadcast August 3rd, 1951.
And now, Orson Welles, as the Third Man, continues with today's story, Too Many Crooks.
Naturally, the first thing I did after making my farewells to Mr. Feckerty was to go across the street and pay a call on Lulu.
Harry, listen to me carefully.
I'm listening, honey.
There's a little cafe on the hill above the old city. You know the place? There's a gold rooster on the roof.
Well, what about it?
Go there and wait for me. You never can tell when Fodor or Feckerty will be bursting in here. They keep jumping across the street to check up on each other and buying geraniums. Go to the cafe and I'll be with you as soon as I can close up here.
What about the boys below?
Oh, what do you mean?
The construction crew, the Corellis.
Oh, Feckerty told you about the Corellis?
I would have found out anyway, Lily.
Lulu.
Okay, what happens to them if you shut up the store? Isn't there a way out?
No, but they won't be finished work before I'm back. And besides, what they don't know won't hurt them.
Lily, or rather Lulu, it looks to me as though just about everybody around here is due to be hurt by what they don't know. I found the Gold Rooster and sat down on the terrace of the restaurant to wait for Mr. Feckerty's fiancée. Over a glass of Tokay, I tried to add up the situation as of then. As far as I could see, the whole setup was like a Picasso painting. No matter how you looked at it, it was cockeyed and upside down.
Hello, Harry. Don't order anything for me. I haven't time.
Don't worry, Lily. I'm not here to celebrate. We can have our party after I know who's going to pay the check.
I wish you'd call me Lulu.
Okay, Lulu. Now, here's all the sense I can make out of this little caper. You came here with the Corelli gang, right?
No, they came first. Then they sent for me to work in the flower shop for a front. The tunnel was their idea.
Then you sent for me. That was your idea.
Right.
Now, Fodor thinks he's going to divvy up with the Corellis and marry you on the proceeds.
Something like that.
And Feckerty thinks something like the same something. The president thinks he's going to put it over the vice president. What about the construction crew?
You mean Walter and the others?
The Corellis, the original burglars. What are they going to get out of this? According to Feckerty, it's going to be the old double cross, but if I know you, Feckerty's in for the same gentle treatment.
Harry, why should anybody get anything out of this except...
Okay, Lily, okay. Book a couple of spaces for us on the first milk train out of Budapest, but be sure to get reservations on the bulletproof car.
I wish you'd call me Lulu.
Time marches on. A lot of trusting Hungarian depositors line up at the bank, leave their hard-earned pengos at the impressive-looking gilt cages for what they fondly believe is safekeeping, and hurry home to have their evening plate of goulash. Closing time comes and goes. Feckerty doesn't leave. He just pretends to, and stays skulking in his office. Meanwhile, Fodor takes the big packages of pengos, which, as you know, is Hungarian for money, dutifully to the door of the vault. He slams the vault loudly, this being for the benefit of the janitor, who is deaf anyway and doesn't hear, and quickly stows the loot in the empty filing cabinet, which he has thoughtfully left nearby for just this purpose. He then goes home and passes a very restless night. The moon rises over the city and winks at its own reflection in the Danube. A lot of good Hungarians are in their beds. The others are all in a nightclub called the Arizona, dancing the Shardash. They do not come into this story, so we'll leave them dancing. Down onto the street, the Corellis, those adept bank robbers, continue to dig. They are putting the finishing touches on their tunnel, and we will not listen in on them because their conversation is very vulgar indeed. In his luxurious office, Mr. Feckerty sits biting his nails and dreaming of a long West Indian cruise with Lulu in an adjoining deck chair. As As the gang in the tunnel understand it, when the clock strikes 12, they are to open the secret trap door which they have previously prepared inside the bank, a section of tiling near the vault, go to the filing cabinet and take out the money which Fodor has left there, thus eliminating the noise and inconvenience of breaking into the vault, and, first closing the loose tile after themselves, scuttle back with the loot under the street into the flower shop, out into the night, and as far away from Hungary as possible. As I say, that's the way the gang in the tunnel understand it.
And the conclusion of The Lives of Harry Lime, the Third Man, from August 3rd, 1951, along with another episode of the soap opera Claudia, follow these important words from your favorite station, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Lives of Harry Lime, starring Orson Welles, August 3rd, 1951.
This is also the arrangement as Mr. Fodor understands it, with a trifling difference that he expects Lulu to stop by for him with his share of the profits. Like Mr. Fekete, he is biting his nails and dreaming of tropical cruises. And what of Lulu? What of Lulu, indeed? It is Lulu's little plan to foozle everybody, Corelli, Fodor, and Fekete. She's led them all on to just this point. It is the point of departure. Lulu's departure. Lulu and all those neatly wrapped packages of pingos. The trouble is, it's all just a little bit too much for one little girl to handle alone, so Harry Lime's been sent for. Harry is supposed to assist at the general foozling of one and all, and then, in due time, of course, he's to be foozled as well. Lulu will send Harry off to mail a postcard, and when he gets back, Lulu will have continued her travels alone, with nothing to keep her company but the loot. That, as I say, is the way Lulu understands it. The clock, high in the steeple of San Stefano, strikes 12. This is the signal. Mr. Corelli, that celebrated expert, with his two able assistants, starts toward the bank. The tunnel was not built for comfort, and the going on hands and feet is a trifle rough. There's a bit of genteel cursing, but hearts are high. At the sound of the clock, Mr. Fekete removes the bound bundles of money from their place of safety and checks once again the bolts and fastenings which keep the loose tile in its place. In the darkness, Mr. Fekete smiles. He is satisfied that, contrary to the Corelli's expectations, the bank end of the tunnel is firmly and irrevocably closed. Still smiling, he starts toting the money toward the side door for which he, Mr. Fekete, is the perfectly legal possessor of a key. On the outside, Lulu, with a high-speed car, is supposed to be waiting for him. Unfortunately, however, a moment earlier, Harry Lime, on the flower shop end of the tunnel, has persuaded Lulu to go down for a moment and tell the boys not to try lifting that trick tile for at least a half hour. Lulu hates herself now for not having analyzed the merits of this suggestion. She has plenty of time now to think this over, because foxy old Harry in the flower shop has bolted down the trap door. The clock has stopped striking, of course, and Mr. Fekete pops out of his bank looking for all the world like a jolly Christmas shopper with his arms loaded with bundles. There is a high-speed car waiting for Mr. Fekete, all right, but it is full of strange gentlemen, and they are all dressed in uniforms.
Put up your hands, Fekete. Put up your hands. You're under arrest.
But there's some mistake.
Oh, not at all, old man. No mistake at all. You see, gentlemen, just as you were told, there he is, and there's the money.
Come along now, Fekete. We are taking you in.
You, Harry, a police informer.
Not a bit of it, old man. I wouldn't dream of telling on you. No, the cop got the tip-off from an anonymous letter, and you know how you spell anonymous? L-U-L-U.
Lulu, She did it. Lulu.
Lulu, that wouldn't be Lulu Hartz, would it? Alias Lily the Twister.
Yes, officer, I believe so. There's a reward offered for her capture, isn't there?
I should say there
And
is.
what about the Corelli gang?
They've got the biggest price on their heads in Central Europe.
Oh, that's lovely. It's all beginning to add up when you throw in the generous reward Mr. Feckerty posted in the name of his bank this afternoon.
But you're not going to collect that, are you?
Why not, old man? After all, you put up the money for me to collect before the bank was robbed, didn't you? You also wanted me to thwart the Corellis, and if you yourself are foolish enough to go breaking the law, you'll just have to tell it to the judge.
I'll tell him plenty. I'll tell him about you.
Go ahead. I haven't broken any laws, remember, and you'll only help me collect my various rewards.
Matter of fact, Lime, just what is your connection with this affair? What have you done?
Officer, all I did was turn a bolt on a trap door. Nothing at all, really, just a twist to the wrist. And now, if you've got some spare handcuffs ready, I think we better open it up again. The folks down below may be getting a little fretful, and I think they'll appreciate a change of scene. If you'll come with me, officer, I'll show you the place.
Really, Mr. Lime, I can't tell you how grateful...
Please, please, old man, don't mention it. Pleasure, I assure you. Won't you have a cigar?
And now, Harry Lime.
You know, friends, I had thought of substituting those fat packages of pengos for the same weight of old newspapers. But the rate of exchange wasn't so good on the pengo just then, so I resisted the temptation. After all, as Mother always said, too many crooks spoil the goulash.
Indeed, August 3rd, 1951, The Lives of Harry Lime, starring Orson Welles here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain. I am open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
For what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Alrighty, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, so let's see what's going on with Claudia, David, and the Baby in this episode of the soap opera Claudia, August 3rd, 1948.
And now, Claudia.
Oh, David, I love having you home all day.
I'm not home to play. I'm home to work on these plans for the schoolhouse.
Who cares why? The important thing is you're home.
I'm going to act as if I'm not.
Go ahead, see if I care.
I'm going to lock myself up in this little room and keep my nose to my drawing board all day. You're not going to even see me.
Good.
Oh?
I don't want to see you. I have a million things to do myself. I'm busy up to my ears.
What are you busy with up to your ears?
Thank you notes for the baby's presents.
Poor you.
Oh, poor me is right. Is there anything else in the world worser than writing thank you notes?
Nothing's worser. Not even the word.
Oh, you...
How many do you have left?
Too many, about 14, I guess.
Haven't you written any?
Of course I have. I still don't see why I have to write them all. You're his father. You should write half of them.
I'm going to stay right here and work.
Not so fast. You give me one good reason why you shouldn't write half.
Well, the presents aren't mine. They're addressed to your illustrious son.
Then he should write them.
Then go right upstairs and ask him.
I think I will. I'm half tempted to.
And if you waste any more time before writing them, he'll be old enough to do it himself. So get moving.
All right. And don't nag me. You know, the worst part is I hardly even know half the people who sent me those baby presents.
Well, it should make it twice as easy to write the letter.
Now explain that to me, Mr. Smarty.
Because you don't have to get personal.
Oh.
All you have to do is write a very formal thank you note. That's all.
Terrible. I hate receiving formal thank you notes. So I imagine other people do, too.
All right. make it difficult for yourself.
I will.
I was only trying to help.
Advice is no help. Action is what counts.
Then I'll leave you to yourself, and you can start on the action right away.
Oh, thank you very much.
Nothing at all. Get Mama to help you.
He's pushing Bobby around in his perambulator.
That woman. She can't let him out of her sight.
I know.
Guess you'll just have to work it out for yourself, then. I hope you haven't touched my soft lead pencils or stolen my ruler or gum eraser.
Oh, you're as fussy about your soft lead pencil as an old maid.
It is impossible for the old maid to work without them.
'Tis a poor workman who blames his tools. Oh, now where's my favorite fountain pen? David, have you stolen my favorite fountain pen? I can't write with any other.
'Tis a poor workman who blames his tools. Now get on with those thank you notes. If you get through after lunch, I'll take you for a walk.
Well, that's not much of an inducement, but it's better than none. All right. I love getting presents, but when you have to write 8 different letters about 8 different little chemises, it sort of takes the glow off.
Ungrateful.
If you're not doing anything, why don't you write a letter, dear?
Look, I'm doing something. I'm going to figure up some measurements, so quiet.
Now, let me see. Who's next on the list? Let's see. Mrs. Percival Jones, a silver spoon. Can you imagine sending a silver spoon to a 3-month-old baby? I mean, weeks. Of all the things I didn't want my son to be being born with was a silver spoon in his mouth.
No, he wasn't.
Well, he is now. Mrs. Percival Jones sent him one. Say, who is Mrs. Percival Jones, anyway?
Oh, no, some friend of Julia's, probably.
No.
My sister-in-law has many, many friends, you know.
Have you ever met Mrs. Percival Jones?
Not that I remember.
I wonder if there's a Mr. Percival Jones.
Who cares?
Mrs. Percival Jones?
Well, shut up. Write her a letter.
Dear Mrs. Percival Jones.
Write it. Don't recite it.
Dear Mrs. Percival Jones, I just can't begin to tell you how much my husband and I
Leave me out of it. Leave me out.
How much my husband and I appreciate the darling...
The lovely.
Shut up. Appreciate the darling silver spoon you sent my son. He has been eating with it ever since the
Oh,
day...
that's a lie.
The whole thing is a lie. What am I supposed to say?
Tell her the truth.
I'd much rather, but I don't dare.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, here goes. Dear Mrs. Percival Jones, my husband and I want to tell you how silly we thought you were to send our 3-week-old offspring a silver spoon. Considering the times we're living in, we both believe it was a very extravagant waste of money.
You better go back to your lies, dear.
David, I am writing these letters, remember?
All right. Have it your own way. If you don't want my advice, go ahead, but do it silently.
See, Edith Dexter. Who on earth is Edith Dexter?
Oh, I know Edith Dexter. She's Philip Dexter's wife.
Oh, of course.
He's a good friend of my brother's.
Well, then why doesn't your brother write them a thank you note? They only sent it to us because of him.
What did she send?
Silver rattle. Honestly, now, this is worse than getting married.
Marriage has compensations, but this is a big nuisance.
Don't you call your son compensation?
Not yet.
Dear Mrs. Dexter.
Why don't you make this a formal one?
For instance?
Mr. and Mrs. David Naughton wish to thank you for your thoughtfulness at this time.
That sounds more like a condolence note. You have to be more cheerful about having a baby. Is it condolence or condolence? I never know.
I don't know. I'm busy.
I don't either. I'll have to look it up.
Now, how about Mr. and Mrs. David Naughton's sides are splitting about thanking you?
Oh, you're such a big help. You get back to your figures. You may be a wonderful architect, but you're a flop at thank you notes.
Now that I have proven it, maybe I'll get some peace and quiet.
You know, I wish I could learn how to write faster. I'm so slow. My mind works 8 times as fast as my hand.
And your tongue works 80 times faster than your brain.
I don't hear you. Dear Mrs. Dexter, please forgive my not writing sooner.
It's bad psychology to begin with an apology.
You are not to butt in, Buttinsky. Now I can see why wives send their husbands off to the office to get a little peace. Dear Mrs. Dexter, dear Mrs. Dexter. My dear Mrs. Dexter. Oh, how I hate this. Hooray, somebody's coming to see us.
Any excuse not to have you do your work?
You're a fine one to talk. Oh, Mrs. Cook, it's you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Norton. I don't usually come ringing doorbells with this mail, but you had so many packages today, I couldn't very well stuff them all into that little mailbox of yours.
More packages?
Yep, got a heap of them, all here in this bag. Oh. I feel just like Santa Claus, only it's August.
Oh, they're packages for that son of mine. I had to go and have a baby.
Yeah, I hear say he's a fine boy.
Well, he's not bad. He's getting entirely too many presents, though.
Well, it'll save you money. You won't have to go and buy him all this junk yourself.
Unfortunately, it's not the kind of stuff I'd buy in the first place.
You're looking good, Mrs. Norton. Being a mother agrees with you.
Why, thanks, Mrs. Cook. We missed you while we were in New York.
We kind of missed you, too. I dropped the mail by regular and blew my horn, thinking if you was here, you'd come out. Well, it's nice to have you back.
You've no idea how nice it is to be back.
Well, as I was saying to my husband last night, Mr. Cook was suggesting that we take a little vacation and go away on a trip.
Oh?
As I was saying to him, I sure would like to go away. But when I'm away, I sure wish I was back home. Packing suitcases, unpacking them, sleeping in strange beds, registering in strange hotels, having to pay bills, and eating food that's cooked by folks who don't even know how to boil eggs.
Well,
As I was saying to Mr. Cook, if we was taking a vacation, I'd stay home here where everything is just the way I want it to be. But I don't think I'm going to be taking a vacation. You know, I kind of like this wandering around, seeing all the folk and getting all the latest news.
Claudia! Oh, that's my husband.
Your husband?
Yes.
Oh, well, you know, I'd kind of like to say hello to him. I don't think I ever met Mr. Norton, but the folks downtown say he's a mighty handsome man.
Well, some other day, but...
well, any
today,
other
Mrs.
day,
Cook,
it's
you
all
see, he's
right.
working at home on the plans for the...
child, please, I'm sorry, don't just say another word. When men have work to do, the world just has to stand still.
That's right.
But let a woman set herself down to her desk. She's expected to get her work done with an interruption every 5 minutes.
That's just what
I was just saying that to Mr. Cook last night.
You were?
Yes, so I just won't say another word.
You won't?
I'll just leave all these packages in your front hall and, well... I'll be on my way. I'll see you, Mrs. Norton. I'll drop by tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have time for a real talk then.
Thank you for coming, Mrs. Cook. It's always nice seeing you. Phew, what a tornado.
Claudia?
David, come on out here.
Are you alone?
She's gone.
Good heavens. How that woman can talk. She makes you sound like a mute.
That's why I keep her around. Look at all this stuff she brought. Packages and packages and packages. There are at least 15 of them.
And all from the same store that we've already received packages
But
from.
they're all the same things all over again. More silver spoons, more chemises, more sweet little knitted garments and blankets and... David, I don't want to seem ungrateful, but isn't it an awful waste?
Darling, you can't scold people for their trying to be attentive.
No, but it just doesn't seem right. Bobby has so much already. It's wrong for anybody these days to have more than they actually need.
I agree with you, but there are times when you have to accept gifts with good grace.
This is one of those times.
Well, you better open them so you can sit right down and finish up your thank you note.
Oh, I'll never finish them. The more I write, the more I have to write. It's interminable.
Want to open the packages here, or shall I take them inside?
Darling, you get to your work. I'll do it.
I'll help until Gertrude finishes.
Take a letter. Dear Mrs. Van Doren, thank you for your charming blue vest.
From Elizabeth Van Doren?
Another friend of Julia's?
No, she's cousin of Roger's.
You met her?
Once.
Nice?
Very.
I think any cousin of Roger's would. David,
No,
listen.
no. I'm not going to write any of them.
That's not what I was going to ask.
Oh?
Where should I put all this stuff?
Bring it up to Bobby's room. It's his.
Let him look around and see all this. He'll be so spoiled we won't be able to do a thing with him. Why, he'll think life is nothing but a bed of roses. He'll get an idea he's rich and spoiled and pampered. That's no way to begin life.
Well, suit yourself.
You agree with me, don't you?
Sure, I agree with you, but what's there to be done about it?
I'm just thinking. All those little babies, children who don't have clothes to wear, not enough food. Why should our son be born with more than he can use?
Life isn't always in balance, darling. There are those who have too much and others who have too little.
Somebody ought to do something about life then.
Who's somebody?
Me.
Oh.
I mean, I am going to do something about it.
And what's the brilliant idea that's going through your head?
It's not very brilliant. It's just that I think I'm going to wrap all these presents of Bobby's, everything I can't use, and I'm going to send them to Europe through the Red Cross or some other organization. I'm going to send them to people who need them and who have to depend upon gifts for what they need.
That would be a very fine thing to do.
Oh, there's nothing fine about it. It's just what everybody ought to do, and I think Bobby'd want to share his presents with all those little babies in the world who who haven't anything.
I'd be honored if, in this, you'd let me help. You're a nice girl. A nice mother for my son.
I feel better about the whole business now. We'll open all these presents, we'll take out all the cards, and then I'll write thank you notes that will be thank you notes that I really mean.
Most women carry equipment along when they go to market nowadays. A shopping bag or a carry-all on wheels makes the job of transporting groceries easier. Another help is that handy carton in which you can carry 6 bottles of Coca-Cola home. And speaking of help, it's mighty pleasant to be able to step up to the Coke cooler while you're at your food store for delicious, ice-cold refreshment. It's a wise shopper who shops refreshed.
Sure was good seeing Mrs. Norton again.
Well, now that she's back in Eastbrook, you'll probably be seeing a great deal of her.
Well, if she keeps on getting so many packages, I will.
Well, maybe it'll let up. Claudia would certainly be pleased if it did.
Well, most young folks love getting presents.
And so does Claudia, usually. But about these, she's a little embarrassed.
Yeah. Too much is too much, isn't it?
I guess that's it. I guess Claudia feels her son has plenty just having David for father.
He's a nice man, I hear say.
David, yes. You hear say right. And he has a way with youngsters, too, he has.
Other than his own?
Well, yes, indeed, as we'll find out tomorrow, Mrs. Cook.
Well, I'll be here. Maybe I'll be able to give Mrs. Cook a few pointers. See you then, Mr. King.
Right, ma'am. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere. This broadcast of Claudia was supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
What a way to help others. Isn't that amazing that Claudia was that, determined? From August 3rd, 1948, Claudia here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We thank you for making us a part of your day. Hope you will thank this radio station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite radio station. Now, if you miss a day, you do not have to miss one single show, because all of our shows are available on demand at my webpage, which is classicradio.stream. Classicradio.stream. You can stream the shows on demand. You can also learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can see some of the places where the shows are available via podcast, and you can download those very easily there. You can also find all of our social media links. You can contact me, and you can also buy me a coffee. Now, that buy me a coffee money all goes to help us find more rare radio shows for you here. ClassicRadio.stream. Thanks for listening. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.